as we sometimes cannot use the solutions that worked in the past. Now, one area where critical thinking can be very, very helpful is grammar. There are two approaches to teaching grammar. Can anyone name these two approaches? Are you familiar with the two approaches for teaching grammar? The deductive approach, yes, and the inductive approach. Excellent, well done, yeah. So the deductive approach in light blue is called or is considered a rule-driven approach because the presentation starts with the rule and is followed by examples. In contrast, the inductive approach, highlighted in green, is considered a rule discovery approach because we start with some examples and then the rule is discovered by comparing those examples. In short, the deductive approach starts with the rule and then looks at examples of that rule, whereas the inductive approach starts with examples that lead to the discovery of the rule. Now, have a look at this extract from Unit 1 of the student book for grade 10. Which approach is being used here? Which approach to presenting grammar is used here? The deductive approach, correct. Because the deductive approach starts with the rule. And as you can see, the first thing that students see on the page is that green box with the rules for these for two verb tenses, followed by examples and then an exercise to put that into practice. This is a very good familiar approach to teaching grammar. I'd like to try with you the inductive approach this time, because the inductive approach is really good for critical thinking. Now, have a look at these two sentences. Can you find the verbs? Can you find the verbs in these two sentences? Does is doing. Very good, correct. Does and it's doing. Brilliant. Now, can you tell me what is the difference in meaning between these two sentences? Do they mean the same or is the meaning different? Different. So what is the difference between these two sentences? One is a habitual action, very good. Which one is the habitual action? Does is a routine, excellent. And what about is doing? Very good, is doing is happening now. Great. Now, can we add any words to these sentences to illustrate the meaning, to make the meaning very clear to students? If the first one is a habit, which word can we add to show it's a habit? Adverbs, excellent. Usually, often. Very good. I'm going to add usually to this sentence. Mrs. Lan usually does the cooking. Great. What about the second sentence? Mrs. Lan is doing the cooking in her family. Now, very good. So now Mrs. Lan is doing the cooking in her family. So now we've discovered the differences between these two sentences. So we are ready to write the rule. At this stage, the student has discovered the differences between the two sentences and can write the rules. Let's write one sentence to describe the rule for present tense, for the use of the present tense. What would the rule be? The present tense is used for habitual actions. The present tense is used to describe the truth of a habit and the present. Very good. Now, what would be the rule for present continuous tense? Perfect. The present continuous tense is used for something happening now. So in this case, we've guided the students towards finding and writing and discovering the rule for these two tenses. We can now go back to the book and compare our rules to the rules in the book. Are our rules similar or different? They are actually quite similar. Correct. Very good. They are quite similar. Now, the rules on the book don't say much about the adverbs. These words we added to clarify the meaning. So, can we add something to these rules to indicate that adverbs are important to clarify the meaning? Yes, it is a good idea to get the students to complete the rules that they have on the book by adding things, adding words that will help them identify the two tenses. This little activity has developed their critical thinking skills. We've guided them, but they've discovered the rules for the two different tenses. Something else that we can do is use the discovery technique for clarifying the meaning of sentences in passive voice. This is certainly a more challenging activity for stronger students. Now, have a look at these two sentences and answer this question. What is the difference in meaning between these two sentences? The subject, can you be more specific? What is the difference between these two sentences? They are both passive voice, two different subjects. The doers are different. Very good. Excellent. Yes, so who is biting, who is doing the biting is different in the two, in each sentence. Now have a look at this picture. Which of these two sentences do you think best describes this picture? I see the first sentence a lot. Okay, so correct. Bob is bitten by the snake. Correct. Now have a look at this one. In this case, look at the picture and tell me which sentence best describes this picture. Number 2. Excellent. So in this case, Jerry is doing the biting. The snake is bitten by Jerry. Jerry is doing the biting. Now, have a look at this picture. It's your turn now. Who is frightened? Can you please write a sentence in the passive voice to describe this picture? Let's see a sentence in the passive voice to describe this picture. The elephant is frightened by the mouse. Excellent. So we have identified who is frightened and used the correct passive voice. And what about this one? Who is frightened in this case? The mice are frightened, correct. Can I see a full sentence in passive voice? The mice are frightened by the elephants. Excellent. So once again, looking at pictures, analyzing them, talking about them, comparing and contrasting them can help with the teaching of grammar using the inductive approach. This approach is very useful because students talk about the grammar, and so they develop both communication and critical thinking skills. And it is a great way to work on the meaning of sentences and the differences between sentences. Great. Now we are going to compare and contrast ideas and concepts. We're going to use the communication skills and probably also critical thinking skills to compare and contrast ideas. Have a look at these 3 inventions taken from Unit 5 of the student book for grade 10. Can you name these inventions? iPhone, correct? iPad, mobile phone, yes, laptop, correct. So these 3 inventions, the iPad, the iPhone, and the laptop, have similarities and differences. And what we're going to do is compare and contrast them. So we are going to move on to Padlet now. Have you used Padlet before? All right. If you've used Padlet before, with your mobile phone, you can access the Padlet using the QR code. I am going to ask Ruby to share the link for those of you who want to use a link. Thank you very much. And I am going to access my Padlet. Here and share it with you. In my Padlet, I have 3 columns: smartphones, laptops, and iPads. And we are all now going to share and brainstorm the advantages or the benefits of using these 3 inventions for learning. All you need to do is click on this cross, and you can write something here. And then publish. I have published my idea, laptops are portable. I can see smartphones are small but versatile. Let's see some of your ideas for smartphones, laptops, and iPads. Let's all brainstorm together. Carry everywhere, fast and portable. iPads are convenient. Any other ideas? Surf the net everywhere and quickly with smartphones. iPads are convenient but expensive, really good. Laptops are multifunctional, a bit heavy. Laptops are convenient. iPads are a must-have device. Portable, convenient. The laptops have a bigger screen. Bigger memory, great. Very good. All of these ideas are great, and as you can see, Padlet is very to brainstorm ideas and share this with our students. We all together work on getting ideas for a certain concept. Let us go back to our PowerPoint now, and we try to process all the information we gathered through this brainstorming exercise in Padlet by using a Venn diagram. When we use Padlet, very often, as students are sharing their ideas all at the same time, it's quite possible that learners don't read each other's ideas because they don't have enough time to do that. So if we then move them onto a Venn diagram, we will ask other students to read carefully what everyone has posted on the Padlet, all our great brainstorming ideas, and now it's the time to synthesize the information. They go back, they read all the posts, and then they summarize the information in a Venn diagram. These intersecting sections in the Venn diagram will show us which benefits apply to more than one, or to just one, or to all three of the inventions. So I saw that a few of you mentioned that some of these devices, with some of these devices, we can work faster. Now, this benefit applies to all three of the inventions. Therefore, we place this idea in the intersecting section for all three inventions. And in this way, we are processing the information, we're using critical thinking, and we are preparing for synthesizing the information we brainstormed. Let's have a look at another idea that some of you mentioned. Some of these devices have very useful apps. Now, where do you think the app idea should be placed? Which device allows us to use useful apps? We can use the chat box again now. So which device is laptop? Very good. Yes. Well, the laptop is true, can allow us to use devices. Good. Yes, I can see that all of you are mentioning laptop. I was thinking more that iPhones and iPads are the ones that allow us to use these devices. So in my case, I would put apps in the intersection section between iPhones and iPads. But if in your case, probably you would move the apps to the intersecting section for all three of them. But through the use of Venn diagrams, this is what we're doing. We're actually talking about benefits. We are then synthesizing the benefits, and we are sharing them in a Venn diagram to synthesize the information we came up with. Once we've done that, we've talked about it, we've completed the Venn diagram, then students would be ready for a ranking discussion. In a ranking discussion, students have to put these three devices in order of usefulness. And they will also have to give reasons for this ranking order. They will have to choose the one that is best for language learning, for example, and prepare for a very good discussion where they can organize ideas, present them in a clear way, and justify opinions. So the stages for a good discussion would be these three: brainstorming, perhaps using Padlet, synthesizing the information using Venn diagrams, and then participating in a ranking discussion with clear ideas, clear presentation, and clear reasons. Let's now move on to creativity. By creativity, we don't mean being good at drawing or painting. We mean looking at things in different ways, looking at problems in different ways, or thinking outside the box. So creativity means finding new solutions to new problems. Now, let's go back to our first activity today, which was about family life and household chores. Two of the words that I used in my presentation about my family life were breadwinner and homemaker. These two words can sometimes be easily confused. What do you think is, can you tell me what the difference is between breadwinner and homemaker? What would be the difference between breadwinner and homemaker? Earn money. Who earns money? The breadwinner makes money. Very good. Yes. The homemaker stays at home. What else does the homemaker do? The household chores. Yes, is the one who raises the family. Correct. Well, a good creative activity that we can do, that we can have with students in order to show the difference between the breadwinner and the homemaker is to ask students to take photos at home to illustrate the meaning of the words. So in this case, the homework task would be to go home and take a picture of the breadwinner and the homemaker at home. When taking a photo of the breadwinner, the photo perhaps will, it's not enough to take a photo of the father, for example. The photo needs to be staged to show the meaning, to make the meaning clear, so that when they come back to class and they show the photo to other students in the class, other students can guess who the breadwinner is and who the homemaker is. So what do you think they should add to the photo of the breadwinner in order to stage it and show that my father, for example, is the breadwinner? What could my father be holding in his hand? If the breadwinner is responsible for the family's finance, okay, the father could be holding a suitcase, a newspaper, the father could be giving money to the son, very good. The father could be perhaps working at a desk, holding some documents, holding money in his hands. Great. And when taking the picture of the homemaker, this picture will also have to be staged. What would the homemaker be holding in his or her hands for this picture? Mops. Yes, that's a great idea. The homemaker could be holding a mop. The homemaker could be doing household chores, holding her child. Yes, preparing a meal, cleaning the house. Great. So by asking students to take a picture at home of the homemaker and the breadwinner and staging the picture to make the meaning clear, students are developing creativity and they are also developing creative thinking because they have to critical thinking, they have to think about how to stage that photo to make it clear. This could be a competition, of course, and the best photos could get a prize. Another activity that develops creative thinking is odd one out. have been from Unit 1 on the topic of hobbies from the student's book. Not a hobby because it's a sport. It's okay, it be all. Of you chose gardening as the odd one out. Why could gardening be the odd one out? Can I see some reasons for gardening as the odd one out? It's not a making models is the odd one out. Because it's a job. Okay. Well, so you see that odd one out activities develop creative thinking when all answers are acceptable, provided they have a good reason to explain why we choose that. In this case, I am going to show you the meaning or the definition of sports and hobbies, and I am going to choose as the odd one out playing soccer because it involves physical activity. It is athletic activity that involves competition. So I have chosen one of the options and giving you a good reason for my choice. Here's another type of odd one out. Have a look at this one and tell me which one you think would be considered the odd one out. Syllables, very good. All right. Now, some of you choose surf. Why is surf the odd one out? Because surf is a sport, okay? Surf can be fun and relaxing. All right. Yes, I can accept that. It's entertainment. Very good. Well, I have chosen to focus on pronunciation this time, on sounds. So for me, the odd one out will be collect, because collect uses the sound, whereas learn, surf, and work use the sound. So we can use, this is to show you that we can also use odd one out activities to work on pronunciation. And it's a very good way of getting students to think about the pronunciation of key words. So really good activities odd one out, both for meaning and pronunciation, to develop creativity and critical thinking skills. Let's now have a look at another activity that you can bring into the class to develop creativity. Word It Out is a website that can be used to create word clouds from text. All we need to do is copy and paste some text to generate a word cloud like this. It's a free website. You copy and paste the text and it will generate a word cloud. Now, have a look at the different size of the words. Some words are very big and some are very small. Why do you think that is? Why are some words very big and some are very small? The focus, content words. Yes, correct. When I copy and paste the text into Word It Out, what the website does is the keywords or the words that are repeated in the text more than once appear bigger. They are big because they appear more often and because they are the content words or the keywords with the main ideas. Correct. Now, can you guess the topic of this text? What is this text about? A museum. Can we be more specific? It is about a museum, correct. Where is the museum? Do we know? A museum in Paris. Very good. The Louvre. Very good. So this text is about the Louvre Museum in Paris. Great. So now, can you have a look at all of these words in the text and try to write the longest sentence you can think of using as many words from the cloud as you can. Use the chat box. Write the longest sentence you can using the words from the word cloud. So you're writing the longest sentence you can using the words from the word cloud. Can I see some sentences? The Louvre Museum in France is very impressive, very good. Louvre is the most impressive museum that I have ever visited. Oh, this is a long one. The world's famous museum is Louvre because it contains a lot of materials and attracts a lot of visitors. Great, I'm seeing some really long sentences here. Good. When doing this activity in the classroom, the longest sentence without grammar mistakes can be given a gift, can get some points, it can be made into a competition. Very good. Now, another thing I can do with my text is choose the numbers from the text, identify some numbers, and present them to you in this way, and make you guess what these numbers refer to. Have a look at these numbers. What do you think these numbers refer to? Be creative, use critical thinking, and make a guess about what these numbers may mean. The year the museum was founded, the 10th of August, 1793. That's a good guess. The number of visitors. Which would be the number of visitors? 38,000 is the number of visitors. 380,000, the number of visitors. Maybe that's a lot of visitors. 537 is what? The historical event. things. Very good. Because we just have the numbers, we can be very creative. And like I always said, when you're developing creativity, all answers are acceptable. I could just now narrow this for you by presenting you with certain names, certain categories, certain nouns, and ask you now to match those numbers to the words on the right. 380,000 visitors, that's a possibility. What other numbers can you match? Okay, so in the 10th of August, 1793, the museum was opened. Yes, that's a very good guess. 537 objects. It's a big museum, so perhaps there are more objects than 537. 25,000 paintings. Great. So by presenting students with some categories and some words, we are now narrowing our guesses and being more specific. Now we can move on and learn a bit more about this museum. So here are your answers. The museum was opened in 1793 with 537 paintings, 380,000 objects, 35,000 works of art, and 25,000 visitors. Let's now move on to the exercise on the book and fill in the gaps. So let's try and fill in the first gap. What would be the answer to this first gap? Impressive. Can I see the words? Art collections. Impressive art collections. The museum opened with an exhibition, correct. An exhibition of 537 paintings. Very good. The museum displays 35,000 works of art. Works of art. The museum displays 35,000 works of art. Objects of art, number 4. Paintings, correct. Number 4, paintings, very good. And about 25,000 visitors. Excellent. 25,000 visitors. Very good. So this has taken students through the analysis of the word cloud, writing a long sentence about the Louvre Museum, matching numbers to nouns, and finally filling in the gap, which has become quite easy to do. And probably these words will be quite memorable because of the different stages before doing the activity on the book. This has developed critical thinking and creative skills. Now, another activity that is very useful for developing creativity is draw and tell. Drawing develops both creativity and critical thinking skills, and telling develops communication skills. When this activity is done in pairs or in groups, you can also help develop collaboration skills. Now, let's have a look at this activity from Unit 11, Traveling in the Future, from the student's book for grade 7. Now, this project gets students working in groups and imagining a future means of transport. They have to name the means of transport, they have to think of the road system, the energy, the passengers, and some of its advantages. let's imagine a means of transport. What would be the future means of transport for the year 2032? Just 10 years from now, what would be one of the most popular means of transport in 2032? Flying cars? Any other ideas? Jetpack? Hybrid cars? Driverless cars? Solar power bikes? Yes, very good. The bullet train? Well, we have bullet trains now. Teleporter, that's so cool. Yeah. Excellent. All right. I have chosen for this activity a driverless car. As you can see in this picture, these two men are sitting comfortably, looking at each other, chatting and having a cup of coffee. Can we think of 20 advantages of driverless cars, or as many advantages as you can think of? What would be the advantage of a driverless car? Smart, safe, clean. More convenient, yes. No more drunk drivers, perfect. No accidents. Relaxing because you don't have to drive, you avoid traffic jams, you can work while driving. Automatic, green way, reduce stress of driving. Excellent. So we have lots of advantages of driverless cars. Now, if we go back to the book and I look at the project and what students are asked to do, in this case, and on the book, they are just asked to draw the means of transport, which is a very good thing to do because drawing helps students with thinking, with creativity, and when students don't have the words in the foreign language, drawing can help them explain or describe what their future means of transport would look like. However, what can we do to make this project a little bit more challenging? What else could we ask students to do to make this task a little bit more more challenging, more to help them learn more? Besides drawing the means of transport, well, we can ask them to describe the means of transport. Yes, correct. Make a model of the means of transport. Excellent. Draw and tell us about it. Yes. Now, in the draw and tell us about the means of transport, or drawing and describing the means of transport, there are many ways of doing this. How can they describe the means of transport? Take a photo. We want them to develop communication and creativity skills. So I was thinking that some ways in which students could draw and tell would be perhaps making a short video, perhaps using TikTok. They can draw the model, make the model, and then on a video, they can tell us about it. Perhaps they can make an Instagram or Facebook post using an Instagram or Facebook template. Or perhaps they can record a short YouTube ad selling the car. Yes, so it could be an ad, a commercial to sell driverless cars, saying, this is great for you, here are all the benefits, get your car now. So sometimes the projects on the book can be expanded or extended to make sure that students get to develop more of the 4 skills. Besides creativity, they can develop communication skills and critical thinking skills. Very good. So now I would like us to focus on collaboration skills. This is the last of the 4 C's. John Spencer is a very experienced teacher who posts sometimes very interesting images like this one to describe different aspects of developing students and helping them to become independent and autonomous learners. In this case, this image describes the road from being a dependent learner in a teacher-centered classroom to being an autonomous learner in a student-centered classroom. And how does this happen? Well, this happens by giving students choices. At level 1, the choices would be very simple and perhaps very limited. And as we move on this journey towards student-centeredness, the choices become more challenging. So, like I said, level 1, a simple choice. Level 2, we give students a choice menu. Level 3, we give them a choice menu and lots of options, a little bit like choose your own adventure, where you make a first choice and then you get more choices afterwards. Or level 4, where the students are fully independent and they can suggest their own project. Now, in this journey from dependency to independence, what helps students grow, develop, become more autonomous is choice and voice. When working together, when collaborating in a group on a project, it's very important for students to have a choice and to be able to express their opinions and for those opinions to be heard. This is in general one of the most challenging aspects of group work. How to get students to share ideas so that they can create the best idea for the project. Now, I'm sure you do group work and project work with your students all the time in Vietnam. What are the key challenges that Vietnamese learners have when you ask them to work in groups? What are the key problems you face when students collaborate? Some students are shy, they're noisy. The good students sometimes monopolize different ideas and they don't know what to do. They cannot express their ideas. There is no leader. They speak in Vietnamese. Not confident, sometimes a bit confused or passive. It can be time consuming. Well, we are going to look at ways in which we can deal with these challenges in the classroom when doing pair work or group work. Group work can be challenging, but it's very, very good for students. So we need to find a way to make group work work. One way is to assign students roles. In these cases, I've chosen some roles that you could use that could be cut up and posted into cards. And so when you put together into groups of 6 students, for example, you can give them a set of 6 cards with these 6 roles, and the students would get to choose at random who becomes the leader, the recorder, the timekeeper, the materials manager, the helper, or the speaker. Now, you may say to me, well, but not all students are leaders. And you would be right. A lot of students are shy and they are not leaders. But I think we would all agree that it is important for all students to develop leadership, to be good at collaborating, not just in the classroom, but in the future when they are at work. To be good at collaborating, students need to learn to lead, and they also need to learn to follow. So we have to give all of our students the opportunity to be leaders and to be followers, to collaborate, to speak, but also to help. These roles should change every time and should probably change at every stage of this project, of any project or any group work, so that everyone can get to be speakers, leaders, recorders, or timekeepers, so that everyone shares in these roles. So like I said, one good idea is to put these roles into cards and get students to pick a card. Another idea is to turn these group roles into dice. You can print them on card and create these lovely dice, and each group would get one, and each student would roll the die and get a roll at every stage of the project. And in this way, students would get to try all of the different roles and get to develop all of the different skills. Being a good leader and being a good follower, both are very good skills to have. Let's have a look at a sample project from the student's book for grade 7. This is a project from Unit 5 on eating habits around the world. In this case, the students have to work in groups, design a poster, and present the poster. Look at how many skills students would be developing. By choosing an area or a foreign country, the students have to collaborate, and they have to perhaps all of them suggest an area or a foreign country, and then the group gets to vote to choose one of the areas. In order to find the main meals, find the names of common foods and drinks, they have to do research. They have to select information. When they go to Google, they're going to find loads of information about food and drinks in the area that they chose. So they will require critical thinking skills to select the right information. Later, they will design the posters. This will require creativity, not just because they may be drawing the names of the food and drink, but also because they have to design the poster in such a way that it attracts attention, that it passes the message on, that it makes the message clear. So designing is not just about the visual aspect of the poster. It's also about selecting what information will go in on the poster. And then finally, they will have to make their presentations. And in this way, making the presentation, they will be developing communication skills. Now, something that we can add to this project in order to develop 21st century skills or learning skills is to add a final stage, which would be the stage of feedback, peer feedback, where students give feedback to each other about their presentations. How can students give feedback to each other about their presentations? Have you ever tried this in your classrooms? Make a checklist. Yes, that would be a good idea. What would go on the checklist? Correct together. Yes. So students would be working together and thinking about their presentations. Peer correction. How would peer correction place. Voting. Voting is a very good way of sharing peer feedback. Yes, voting for the best poster or the best presentation, giving comments. One of the most popular ways of giving peer feedback is the activity called 2 stars and a wish, where the students in the class get to share with each group 2 stars, meaning 2 things I liked about your presentation, and 1 wish, which is 1 recommendation for improvement. So in the activity 2 stars and a wish, every group would be giving the other group 2 comments about things they loved and 1 comment about things that the group can do to improve the presentation. So this is a very popular way of giving peer feedback, 2 stars and a wish. Another way of giving student feedback is reactions. The emoji or emoticon faces are used in social media a lot to react to posts, to react to comments. And we can see here on the slide most of the traditional comments or the traditional emoji faces that are used to react to posts. Now I've added 1 new image. This is the purple flower. What do you think the purple flower means? The thumbs up means okay. The heart means I love this. The smile means I like it. What does the purple flower mean? It could mean sympathy. It could mean beautiful. Yes, very good. It could mean thankful or lovely. Great, positive thinking. Yes, so this is a really great idea for you to work with your classes on at the beginning of the year, where you get a list of emoji faces or emoticons, or you design your own pictures that you are going to use to react to ideas or to presentations throughout the year. What is very important is for you and the class to agree on what these emojis or images mean. So we agree that thumbs up means good, that the heart means I love this, that the smile means this is funny, and that the purple flower means this is lovely, for example. I would encourage you to work with your class and to choose some traditional emoji faces, but also to design your own. Have a look at these ones. These ones are from LinkedIn, and we have some new images that can also be used in the classroom. Have a look at the 2 green hands clapping. What do you think the 2 green hands clapping mean? Great idea, celebrate, good job, goodbye, say excellent, very good. Yeah, congratulations. And this is an icon that we can definitely use in the classroom. What about the yellow light bulb? What do you think the yellow light bulb means? creative, very insightful. This is a new idea that we didn't think about. You have had a very creative idea. Great. And what about the face on the right, the purple face with the hands on the mouth? I'm confused, I'm thinking, I'm not sure. Yes, great. Think again, confused. It is also sometimes, in a very respectful way, a good idea to show other participants, other students, other groups, that perhaps the presentation was not very clear. Now, this has to be done in a very respectful way. So you have to choose the images or the emoji very carefully, and you have to make sure that everybody understands that this emoji face means the presentation was a bit unclear. Do it in a respectful way so that no one gets hurt. Finally, I've got some more that I think would be very useful in the language classroom. What do you think these images mean? What about the exclamation marks here? Be careful, yeah. What about the lightning bolt? Yes, I like to think that the lightning bolt is a positive one. It could also be a negative one, but it could be, wow, great, amazing. What about the star? Excellent, terrific, wonderful. And the question mark could be used to mean, I don't understand this, or I have a question, I have something I need to ask you, I am doubtful about the presentation. So I've given you lots of different ideas of emoticon, faces, images, pictures, and emoji that you can use to react and give peer feedback after a presentation. These images are at the lower level of peer feedback because we just give a feeling, an emotion, a little bit of information about the presentation. We can take this further and create a more sophisticated rubric that students can use to share feedback after an oral presentation or after a task or some project that students have worked on. The best rubrics are the ones which get input from students regarding which categories to use. Here this rubric, for example, has actually 3 stages: excellent, proficient, and needs improvement. And the categories that students would be assessing the work on would be content, structure and organization, time and pacing, posture, eye contact, clear and audible voice, and visual aids, whether students used pictures or used things that they brought into the classroom, like a model or a video to present to the class while they are showing and telling. They can also, rubrics can also add a section for comments where we can explain the feedback that was presented here on the table. Surveys, yes, surveys are also very useful. Oral presentation rubrics tend to work better when students are involved in making that table. So when we give students choice and voice when designing the rubric, they are more likely to accept the feedback on the rubric that is generated that way. Here is another rubric. Have a look at it. How is this rubric this one. Yes, we can use these rubrics for surveys, for interest, for interviews. We can use it as a marking scheme. So while one group is making a presentation, the other group could be filling in the rubric. Now this, I said earlier that this is a more sophisticated rubric because it's got 4 categories: excellent, great, good, and just okay. So in a way, yes, you're right, this rubric is evaluating the presentation because it's giving the presentation some points, and students, groups could be collecting points over a term, over a month, over a period, and then the groups with the most points are the winners. You can use these rubrics to evaluate, but also as a game. Now, have a look at the categories chosen here for the oral presentation. This rubric, for example, includes creativity. We can include in our rubrics the 4 C's: creativity, communication, skills, critical thinking skills. If we want to focus on those skills and we want the students to focus on those skills. Another thing that this one is interesting is because it includes enthusiasm. Enthusiasm of the speakers, enthusiasm of the group presenting the poster or presenting their project. This is really interesting because it shows how the enthusiasm of the speaker or of the group can have an impact in on the listeners. Notice that the previous one included eye contact and clear and audible voice. This was a much simpler presentation rubric. Ideas for you to think about and work with your students. There are more categories that we can include in the oral presentation rubric. One which I would definitely add is pronunciation. Pronunciation is important for language speakers in the language classroom, so I would definitely add pronunciation, which perhaps it's included a little bit in speaking clearly. Is there any other category that you would add to your rubric for oral presentations and to give feedback to other groups? Which other categories would work for peer feedback? I can't. Oh, there you. Oh, how natural the presentation is. How the information has been integrated. Yes, that's a very good category. How fluent the participants are. Fluency is a very good category to include. How the participants cooperate. Very good. The coherence of the presentation. Yeah. So you can see there are lots of categories that we can select, and the ones that you choose will depend on the level of your students and the participation of your students. I would strongly recommend you to get your students to participate in the category for the rubric, and also in the choice of images or emoticon faces or reaction images that you choose for peer feedback. So this brings us to the end of our presentation. We have been working on and participating and exploring activities that develop the learning skills, which are the 4 C's: critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. Sometimes these skills can be developed in isolation, but more often these skills are developed together, actually. So there are activities where you can develop, or the students can develop, more than one skill. I have thoroughly enjoyed being with you here today. I would like now to open the floor to questions. Any questions that you might have about this presentation or about developing learning skills in the classroom.
Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, bây giờ chính là cái phần Q&A thảo luận cho phần trình bày chia sẻ vừa rồi của cô Connie ạ. Vâng, các thầy cô có những câu hỏi gì về phần nội dung cô vừa chia sẻ, hoặc có những cái băn khoăn gì về cái quá trình triển khai trên lớp của mình, hay có bất cứ một cái thông tin chia sẻ gì, xin mời quý thầy cô chúng ta có thể đánh vào mục Q&A để ban tổ chức cũng như là diễn giả chúng ta có thể xem và trả lời các thầy cô luôn ạ. Vâng, can you share the website? Vâng, chúng tôi nhìn thấy ở đây ở trong phần chat box ạ. Các thầy cô có thể đánh câu hỏi vào phần Q&A được không ạ? Để phần chat box nó sẽ không bị trôi tin ạ. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô ạ. So the first question here, can you share the website to create word cloud? Connie, can you answer this question?
The name of the website is Word It Out. There are many websites to create word clouds, but I would just suggest Googling Word It Out, and you will find this website that is very, very easy to use. Like I said before, all you need to do is, yes, word it out all together. All you need to do is select some text that can be from the student's book, from the workbook, or from any text. It could be a reading or it could be an exercise. You copy and paste the text into the word cloud. That's all you do. Very easy to use.
Yeah, thank you, Connie. Yeah. Okay.
I'm now going to go into the Q&A and just find some of your questions. I think we need to have the teaching plans. Perhaps this is for the book. This one's for you, Swan.
Can I answer some questions here? Thưa các thầy cô, thì toàn bộ các cái phần teaching plan hoặc là lesson plan thì Nhà Xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam đã triển khai sản xuất và đã đóng gói để gửi link hợp phần bổ trợ để gửi về cho các thầy cô. Vâng, các thầy cô có thể truy cập vào trang sách mềm.vn và truy cập vào lớp hay là cuốn sách mà mình đang mong muốn tìm được các cái tài liệu này. Và toàn bộ các cái hợp phần bổ trợ từ giáo án minh họa đến phần bài giảng điện tử chúng tôi đều đã đăng tải ở trên trang sách mềm.vn này. Các thầy cô có thể truy cập và download về. Vâng, Nhà xuất bản có cung cấp tài khoản sách mềm không? Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, thì một thông tin rất là vui là bắt đầu từ tháng 6 năm 2022 thì Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục đã mở Open Access cho tất cả các giáo viên trên toàn quốc sử dụng tài khoản sách mềm miễn phí mà không cần phải gửi yêu cầu đăng ký hay là các thông tin từ phía trường. Các thầy cô chỉ cần truy cập vào trang sách mềm.vn và bấm đăng ký là giáo viên thì địa chỉ email của các thầy cô sẽ được cung cấp là tài khoản sử dụng sách mềm miễn phí. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều ạ. Ở đây thì có một số thông tin tôi vừa trả lời rồi. PowerPoint và tất cả những bài giảng minh họa cũng như là bài giảng điện tử thì chúng tôi đã đăng tải ở trên trang sách mềm.vn cho bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success. Các thầy cô có thể vui lòng vào trang sách mềm để có thể truy cập và download về ạ. Vâng, đầy đủ, chọn bộ giáo án trong 35 tuần đã đầy đủ rồi ạ. Vâng. Achievement Test, chúng tôi cũng đã chuẩn bị bộ để kiểm tra thường xuyên và định kỳ theo các hướng dẫn của bộ, và các cái phần audio cho phần listening trong bộ để kiểm tra này chúng tôi cũng sẽ update trong thời gian sớm nhất để phục vụ cho các thầy cô trong cái việc triển khai kiểm tra đánh giá đối với học sinh ạ. Vâng. We would like to attend a model lesson. Vâng. Ở đây thì có nhiều câu hỏi cụ thể hơn về các cái phần giáo án cũng như tiết giảng minh họa. Thưa các thầy cô, thì hiện tại toàn bộ series Global Success chúng tôi cũng đã có quay các tiết giảng minh họa cụ thể. Ví dụ như đối với sách lớp 6, lớp 7 và lớp 10 thì chúng tôi đã quay đủ với 7 tiết của lớp 6, lớp 7 và 8 tiết của lớp 10, và chúng tôi sẽ upload toàn bộ những cái tiết giảng minh họa này trên kênh YouTube của sách mềm. Các thầy cô vui lòng follow kênh YouTube của sách mềm để được cập nhật tất cả những cái phần video, bài giảng cũng như tiết giảng minh họa. Và với những cái YouTube kênh video về cái hội thảo chuyên môn như thế này, chúng tôi cũng sẽ upload lên trên kênh YouTube của sách mềm để các thầy cô có thể theo dõi. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô ạ.
So I would like to make some comments. I've seen some of your other questions. Can you share with us some useful websites for teaching techniques? And the answer is yes. I have put together a handout that will be shared with you after this webinar. And in this handout, I suggest some websites where you will get warmers, fillers, and games and other activities that can be mainly used to develop learning skills. So the 4 C's. You will be receiving this after this webinar. Then I can see another question that I think is quite interesting. Should the teacher teach all the things in the books? About this, I know that your students will be taking exams, and that sometimes we have to prepare students for those exams. So the things that you include in your lessons and in your lesson plans will be determined by the exams that students need to take. But as a teacher and an experienced teacher trainer, I would say that very often teachers can choose, and they can perhaps teach the content of the book or of the lesson, but perhaps in a different way. Perhaps add a warmer that uses the vocabulary, or a game that uses the vocabulary of the book. And then the teacher may decide that perhaps it's not a good idea to do the vocabulary exercise on the book, or I am a big fan of giving students choice and voice, which is something I mentioned towards the end of the presentation. So sometimes, because we have in our classes students at different levels, most of our classes are mixed level groups, you can create, or you can make some of the activities in the book or in the workbook as optional. When you prepare a choice menu where you give different options and you allow students to choose out of a menu of 9 options, they have to choose 5. You could put the activities that you consider are not as important into a choice menu, and then the students who want to complete those activities will do so, and the ones who don't won't. So that is how you can use the different activities on the book in different ways. Another question that I can see here is how to attract lazy students. Please help me. Well, all students have something that motivates them. It could be that what motivates them is a competition, a game, or perhaps what motivates them is collecting points for their team. So you need to find out what motivates your students. And like I said, in my experience, especially with teenage students, what motivates them is having a choice, where they are the ones who may suggest which exercise to do and how to make the presentation so that they can bring in their own voice to the activity.
Okay, thanks, Connie. Here are some Vietnamese questions here. Vâng, có một số câu hỏi tiếng Việt ở đây vẫn hỏi về giáo án và sách mềm. Thưa các thầy cô, thì toàn bộ phần giáo án này hiện tại thì chúng tôi đã open access. Có một số thầy cô nói là không thể download được về, các thầy cô vui lòng check lại giúp ạ, bởi vì chúng tôi đã mở toàn bộ free để các thầy cô có thể download lại. Các thầy cô có thể truy cập trang sách mềm để xem lại toàn bộ các hợp phần bổ trợ này. Chúng tôi đã mở toàn bộ rồi ạ. Cả bản Word, toàn bộ phần giáo án cho lớp 6, lớp 7 và lớp 10 đều đang ở định dạng Word. Các thầy cô có thể download về và chỉnh sửa lại theo cái mục tiêu và mục đích của mình. Tuy nhiên thì tất cả những cái phần giáo án minh họa cũng như bài giảng điện tử chúng tôi đã biên soạn một cách rất là chuẩn chỉnh. Ở đây thì một số thầy cô có nói được rằng là phần Getting Started thêm có thể bổ sung thêm các cái video. Thưa các thầy cô, trong bộ bài giảng điện tử thì cũng chia sẻ thật với các thầy cô là toàn bộ phần giáo án minh họa và bài giảng điện tử của bộ sách tiếng Anh Global Success chúng tôi đã mời các đội ngũ tác giả là các giáo viên rất nhiều kinh nghiệm và giáo viên giỏi của Hà Nội cũng như các thành phố của Việt Nam để các thầy cô có kinh nghiệm chia sẻ với đồng nghiệp của mình. Và với bộ giáo án điện tử này thì chúng tôi đã đầu tư rất nhiều công sức cũng như là kinh nghiệm của các giáo viên với rất nhiều những trò chơi và những cái technique phương án ở trên đó để các thầy cô có thể đưa vào các hoạt động warm up cũng như là phần pre hay post của bất cứ một cái hoạt động kỹ năng nào. Các thầy cô có thể download phần bổ trợ về bài giảng điện tử này về để sử dụng cho riêng mình. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô ạ. Còn một số câu hỏi nữa. Vâng, we need to have the PDF files. Vâng, có cô Phạm Thị Thanh Trúc có đặt câu hỏi là please start talking about task-based language teaching and task support language teaching. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, với một hội thảo workshop mà trong một thời gian có giới hạn như thế này thì chúng ta sẽ không thể đi hết được tất cả các nội dung các thầy cô mong muốn. Và chúng tôi hy vọng rằng hội thảo chuyên đề ngày hôm nay cũng chỉ là mở đầu cho một chuỗi hội thảo, những cái workshop ngắn sau này mà chúng tôi có thể tổ chức nhiều hơn để giúp đỡ và đồng hành với các thầy cô với những cái chủ đề và với những cái mục tiêu khác nhau. Và trong thời gian tới thì chúng tôi sẽ tổ chức nhiều hơn những buổi hội thảo như thế này ạ. Vâng, cảm ơn có một số thầy cô đã gửi vào phần chat box đường link để download các hợp phần bổ trợ mà tôi vừa giới thiệu với các thầy cô ạ. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô đã dành tình cảm cho presenter của chúng tôi hôm nay ạ. Có giáo án bản Word cô nhá. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, phần hội thảo chuyên đề ngày hôm nay chúng tôi chỉ sẽ đi chung với những cái topic chung về phương pháp giảng dạy. Còn hiện tại Nhà Xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam đang triển khai đồng bộ trên toàn quốc phần tập huấn sách giáo khoa theo sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success. Các thầy cô sẽ được tiếp cận cụ thể hơn từng giáo án cũng như là cách thức triển khai từng lesson trong mỗi một unit trong sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh 6, 7, 10 Global Success. Vì vậy các thầy cô yên tâm ạ, bởi vì bây giờ mới là các cái chuỗi tập huấn đồng hành sắp tới. Chỉ sợ là các thầy cô sẽ không có đủ thời gian để tham gia hết được những buổi hội thảo của chúng tôi thôi ạ. Các thầy cô yên tâm. Vâng. Toàn bộ file audio chúng tôi cũng đã update lên trên kho và phần bổ trợ ở trên sách mềm. Các thầy cô có thể download được về ạ. Khối tiểu học, vâng, ở Cà Mau có vừa hỏi là có hội thảo dành riêng cho khối tiểu học không? Chúng tôi đã triển khai trong 2 ngày mùng 8 và mùng 9 tháng 6. Hội thảo tiểu học đã triển khai vào buổi sáng. Các thầy cô muốn xem lại nội dung thì vui lòng xem trên kênh YouTube của sách mềm ạ. Toàn bộ phần recording của hội thảo tiểu học cũng đã được sử dụng ạ, cũng đã được upload lên ạ. Vâng, giáo án đúng mẫu, vâng, chúng tôi đã triển khai và biên soạn giáo án 5512 theo đúng mẫu của Bộ Giáo dục và Đào tạo. Cũng chia sẻ với các thầy cô, bộ giáo án 5512 được biên soạn cho bộ giáo trình sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success là do các cô giáo cũng như là chuyên viên phụ trách của Sở Hà Nội trực tiếp biên soạn. Các thầy cô cũng yên tâm về cái tính chuẩn chỉnh. Còn tùy với từng Sở Giáo dục và Đào tạo, tùy từng tỉnh sẽ có những yêu cầu khác nhau thì các thầy cô có thể chế biến gia công thêm. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô ạ. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, bây giờ thì bộ phận kỹ thuật sẽ chiếu lên file QR code và đường link để các thầy cô điền các cái thông tin để chúng tôi có thể gửi giấy chứng nhận certificate tham gia buổi hội thảo trong buổi chiều nay ạ. Vâng. Và ngay bây giờ thì còn một số câu hỏi ở trong phần Q&A thì chúng tôi sẽ ghi lại và để đưa vào nội dung của các cái workshop hội thảo lần sau. Và chúng tôi sẽ xin gặp lại các thầy cô trong các hội thảo chuyên đề sắp tới. Các thầy cô vui lòng follow fanpage sách mềm và các trang thông tin của chúng tôi để có thể cập nhật các cái buổi hội thảo chuyên đề ngắn theo từng tháng và theo từng quý. Và cảm ơn các thầy cô. Và hiện tại trên màn hình chính là mã QR code để các thầy cô có thể truy cập và điền thông tin của mình để nhận giấy chứng nhận tham gia buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay ạ. And once again, thanks a lot for your presentation today, Connie. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure to be with you today. We've covered a few different ideas, and the teachers are going to get a handout with some more websites. So I hope this motivates you to include 21st century skills and specifically learning skills in your classroom in every lesson.
Thank you. Okay. Vâng, các thầy cô ơi, hiện tại thì sách giáo khoa đang được in và hoàn thiện đóng gói rồi. Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam sẽ gửi tới các thầy cô sớm nhất, trong thời gian sớm nhất. Và như chúng tôi đã chia sẻ và trao đổi thì mỗi một giáo viên sử dụng bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success sẽ được tặng chọn bộ sách học sinh, sách bài tập, sách giáo viên sẽ về tận tay các thầy cô ạ. Các thầy cô không phải mất công download file về đâu ạ. Vâng, hiện tại các thầy cô có thể xem được ở trên mạng thôi chứ không thể download về được. Chúng tôi sẽ tặng sách cho các thầy cô ạ. Vâng, xin mời bộ phận kỹ thuật có thể gửi link của phần điền thông tin để nhận giấy chứng nhận qua chat box được không ạ? Một số thầy cô không thể quét được mã QR code. Vâng, các thầy cô vui lòng chờ một chút ạ. Chúng tôi gửi vào link phần hoàn thành thông tin để nhận được chứng nhận, chứng chỉ tham gia hội thảo ngày hôm nay ạ. Và bộ phận kỹ thuật vừa gửi vào link vào trong chat box ạ. Các thầy cô có thể vào link và điền thông tin để được cấp chứng chỉ ạ. Vâng, các thầy cô vui lòng chờ một chút ạ để bộ phận kỹ thuật check lại ạ. Các thầy cô ơi, mình vui lòng có thể truy cập lại được link không ạ? Vâng. Xin mời bộ phận kỹ thuật gửi lại link kỹ thuật một lần nữa ạ. Vâng.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I am going to say goodbye now. Hope you all have a lovely evening in Vietnam.
Thầy cô ơi, mình vui lòng có thể truy cập lại được link không ạ? Vâng.
See you again. All the best.
Kỹ thuật một lần nữa ạ. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
And you.
Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, toàn bộ phần recording của
thank you very much, everyone. I am going to say goodbye now.
Trên sách mềm hoặc các thầy cô có thể xem trực tiếp lại
trên kênh YouTube sách mềm.
Thầy cô ơi, mình vui lòng có thể truy cập lại. Một số các thầy cô có quan tâm nhiều hơn đến hội thảo tiếng Anh.
See you again.
Gửi lại một lần nữa. Sách mềm. Bye. Have a nice day. Cảm ơn các thầy cô rất nhiều. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, toàn bộ phần recording của
Thank you very much, everyone. I am going to say goodbye
trên
now.
fanpage sách mềm hoặc các thầy cô có thể
Hope you
xem
all
trực tiếp
have
lại
a lovely
trên kênh
evening in
YouTube sách
Vietnam.
mềm. Mình cũng làm vào này cho một số các thầy cô có quan tâm nhiều hơn đến hội thảo tiểu học.
See you again. All the
Lại
best.
một lần nữa sách mềm. Have a nice day. Cảm ơn các thầy cô rất nhiều. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô toàn bộ trong khi chúng ta lấy link QR code này, chúng ta vẫn mở trong vòng 30 phút nữa để các thầy cô sẽ đến với sách này và các link của mình và việc certificate tham gia của hội thảo sách này. Một lần nữa xin được thay mặt Nhà Xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam và Pearson tôi xin trân trọng cảm ơn quý thầy cô đã dành thời gian tham gia hội thảo chuyên đề ngày hôm nay. Và xin gặp lại quý thầy cô trong những cuộc workshop trong thời gian sắp tới. Và các thầy cô hãy làm dưới link buổi tập huấn chúng ta sử dụng trong 30 phút nữa để các thầy cô sẽ lấy sách này và các link của những tác điểm là certificate và thầy để có thể tiếp cận nhiều hơn với các chuyên đề nữa. Xin được thay mặt Nhà Xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam và Pearson xin trọng cảm ơn quý thầy cô đã dành thời gian. Xin trọng cảm ơn các thầy cô chuyên đề ngày hôm nay. Và xin gặp lại quý thầy cô trong những cuộc workshop trong thời gian sắp tới. Và các thầy cô hãy làm dưới link buổi tập huấn chúng ta sử dụng